It is April 23rd, 2017, and welcome to News Effect. This is a Flicker Effect podcast where each week we discuss the top 5 news items of the week from the world of film, television, and pop culture. I'm David Lott. Joining me as always are Bobby Jackson, Yasha Wilson, and Michelle Curry. How's it going, guys?
Hi.
Great.
Hey. So it's been another week. It's time to talk news, and with that, I turn things over to our expert, Bobby Jackson. What's going on?
Before I get to the news, I don't know why I just realized this, and it's actually something that hasn't happened in a while, but all 4 of us are recording again, so it's pretty great.
I know it's been
a round of applause, everybody.
Bravo!
Yeah.
Look at us adulting and making it all work out.
Coordinating our schedules like a boss.
That's what I'm saying.
But I sound like David, you were about to say something actually.
Oh no, I think I'm good.
Oh, okay. Well then, I will get into the news. Let's see. Number 5 this week is Lock and Key gets a pilot order from Hulu, and we have word that Carlton Cuse, who is from The Strain and Lost, will be executive producing and show running. And the first episode, or the pilot episode, will be directed by Scott Derrickson, who, if you're familiar, know that he did direct Doctor Strange. And he's up for directing more episodes if the series gets picked up. And the original, this show will be based off a comic book that was written by Joe Hill. And for anyone that doesn't know, Joe Hill is the son of famed horror thriller writer Stephen King. And I'll give you a little breakdown of what Lock and Key is. Lock and Key tells the story of the Locke family and their journey into Key House, an unlikely New England mansion with fantastic doors that transform all who dare to walk through them, and home to a hate-filled and relentless creature that will not rest until it forces open the most terrible door of them all. So I never got a chance to read the comic book series. Still on my list of things to read, but I definitely plan on watching this series if it especially gets picked up for a full run. So looking forward to that. Number 4 this week is The Rock will be returning for Fast and the Furious 9. And along that news, we also got news that the Fast and the Furious series will be ending at Fast and Furious 10. We'll see if that holds true. At this point, it's making so much money that it's hard to say that it will stop when it's saying that it will stop. And they also got news that the Fast and Furious may be getting a spinoff with the character of The Rock and Jason Statham. And early talks, there's really no one signed on. There's no script or anything, but that's just where they seem to want to go with things. And it involves some plot points that happened in this current movie, so I won't get into the plot of what they say the movie will be, but it's just in the works right now, so you may be able to have that in the future. And number 3 this week, King Kong Skull Island TV series is in development. According to reports from The Hollywood Reporter, the series will be based on DeVito Artworks' Skull Island and Marion C. Cooper's 1933 film King Kong. It will take place in present day and explore the origins of Skull Island, but it's not supposed to be related to the current film in theaters. Number 2, Deadline Hollywood reports that Will Smith is in talks to play the genie in Guy Ritchie's Aladdin. When the deal for Smith to appear in Disney's Dumbo fell through, sources say that the studio and Will Smith were still in talks to work together because he's been wanting his next film after Suicide Squad to be a family-oriented film. And Smith was shortlisted for the role of the genie since the talks fell through with the Dumbo. And number 1 this week is the future of the MCU. Last week, the MCU, or Marvel Studios, let in a group of reporters into their studios in Burbank and gave them a tour of everything. And within the tour, they got to see a lot of stuff for the future. Some of what they got to see was dailies and footage from Black Panther. They also got to see scenes of footage from Thor Ragnarok and new footage from Spider-Man Homecoming, while confirming that the web slinger will be back for Avengers 4. And they got to also see concept art for Captain Marvel. And while we're on the subject of Captain Marvel, we also got two new directors for the film. Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden were announced as the directors for Captain Marvel film, with the production set to start in February 2018. And as we also were talking about with for our everything Marvel oriented, we also got word that James Gunn will be writing and directing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and he says that he will continue working with Marvel after Guardians 3. He's also listed as one of the producers for Avengers Infinity War. So he seems to be, whether or not if it's going to be behind the camera or just in a role of sort of helping to shepherd the universe into where it goes after this next for this next phase of phase 3. He seems like he's going to be definitely in the Marvel business for quite some time. And that's the news of the week.
Thank you, Bobby.
No problem.
So, where to begin? I will say off the bat, Lock and Key is a comic I have also always wanted to read. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Never read it. I'd like to, but what did you say that was being developed for again?
Hulu.
They're getting better in their production value,
Yeah.
I'll say.
It's funny because it's like I haven't seen any of Hulu's original series yet, but they are definitely, as Michelle said, starting to step up with their production value with their series. And between this, and I know they also have the Runaways, which is another Marvel comic book, they're starting to plant their flag in a certain sort of area. And I'm waiting to see now also what Amazon is doing as far as what they'll be starting to pick up. And between them, Netflix, and now Hulu, it's like it really is making it harder to just stay locked into one service, because some of the other services are offering good things as well. So I absolutely will be checking out this series, even if I just have to like pick up Hulu for a run of the I don't know how do they do it weekly episodes, like released at a week at a time, or do they just do the Netflix thing and have them all available at once?
I can't remember. Because I've watched a little bit of that. Oh man, what's the name of that show? The show about the. Oh fuck, I can't remember the name. Doesn't like a guy live with his sister or something? And you've watched it before.
Oh, yeah, Casual.
Casual. I've seen some of Casual, but I can't remember if
It's
that
released each week.
Okay, so.
But see, I think Hulu, kind of like Netflix, they kind of choose. I think they're kind of making decisions. I think sometimes they do release the whole series, and sometimes they do it weekly. And Casual is a weekly, because I really like Casual. And I remember at one point I caught up to it, and I was like, "Oh damn, I have to wait! Are you kidding me?" And I was so mad. No, I like Casual. Casual's good. That's what I'm saying. Hulu's production value is getting better, and like I've thoroughly enjoyed the entire series of Casual, and I think the writing is really good, the acting is really good. I think the storyline is intriguing, and it just doesn't look cheap. It's done well. Like, it's visually, it's all very seamless, and it's put together well. And I think that they're stepping up their game towards Netflix, and because there's things I watch on Netflix, and I'm like, this production value is kind of sad. So, we'll see.
It is interesting I don't know why, I guess at first too, I had that reaction. Like when I saw that they made that show Casual, I think my first reaction was like, oh, a Hulu original series? I just have a feeling it's not going to be very good for some reason. I don't know why I thought that. I just did. And then I watched a few episodes of Casual, and I was like really impressed with it. But I had no reason to think that a show on Hulu would be any less quality than a Netflix show. I guess just because they hadn't really been doing anything before that. I guess. Right. I don't know. But, and then, something like Lock and Key, it is. I'm still kind of having that reaction. Like, will the production quality be there for a show like that on Hulu? And there's no reason for it not to be. Right. But
I'll say this. After seeing, it's sort of slightly related, but not really related. After seeing the trailer for Krypton, which is a sci-fi show, and seeing what looks like pretty high production value on it, I would imagine a network or whatever you want to call it, like Hulu, can
Yeah.
probably do pretty well with a show like Lock and Key.
I forgot about that Krypton trailer. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I got on Lock and Key. I still haven't even seen The Fate of the Furious when it comes to your number 4 story.
Yeah, which is why I didn't get too much into some of the other aspects of it.
Yeah, I still need to see that. Still need to see it. But yeah, I don't know. Other than the fact that I guess, I know he doesn't die in Fate of the Furious, so I guess that's really the only thing I take away from that story. Is otherwise, I'm not surprised.
Didn't they just release the Cloak and Dagger trailer last week too?
They did release that, yeah, for Freeform.
Yeah, what did you guys think of that one?
I just honestly haven't watched that trailer yet. I think I don't know, maybe because I am not even somewhat familiar with what Cloak and Dagger even is. I don't know. I didn't have like a big draw to watch it.
Okay.
I need to. I watched the Krypton trailer, which I will say I was impressed by the Krypton trailer. I was like, no, it looks like Krypton, looks like the universe from Man of Steel. I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm not even a little interested in Krypton.
Would you say, Yasha?
What did you think of the trailer for Cloak and Dagger? I know it's not one of the top stories, but you were talking about trailers, so I just wanted to see what you thought of that.
Sure. Yeah, it looked interesting. I think it feels like it's hitting its market pretty well, where Freeform used to be ABC Disney for anyone that doesn't know, and their target audience is maybe high school teens and trying to go towards that younger age, and that's what this show essentially feels like. It seems like it has that teen angsty type feel to it, which it looks like it works, because knowing the property of who these characters are and looking at the production of how everything seems to have a certain aesthetic to it, I think it'll actually pull off what it's going for and be a pretty decent series. I think it's 10 episodes, so it's a nice short amount of episode run, and they get in and tell a good story and can really highlight who these characters are. I think they'll have found themselves another little thing that they can have available for that network, because it actually looks like it could be something pretty good for them, and they're first dipping their toe into the superhero genre. Seems like it could be a good one for
them. Will Smith, Aladdin. When I first saw that news, I was kind of like, oh, huh. And I don't know. I actually could buy into that. I'm cool with that, I think. I don't really have anybody else. I'm like, man, it's got to be this guy. So, yeah, why not Will Smith? I think he can pull it off.
Yeah, I don't have any ideas of who I could even begin to say, oh, this should be the person who plays this role. But at the same time, so it's like I hear Will Smith and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I think he'll be good. It's just hard. That role is a very difficult role. It's a lot of big shoes to fill.
It's going to be a really hard role to fill. I mean, you have Robin Williams nailed that role. Yeah. Nailed it. I mean, I had this conversation with a friend of mine at work the other day, and he was talking about it, and I was just like, honestly, I think if there's one person that might be able to do it or try and give it justice, and that would probably be Will Smith, one of them, because he is such a charismatic person, and I think he would probably be able to handle some of the comedic scenes and or improv pretty well. I mean, I'm not sure how much improv he's done in some of his other films, but there are times when I feel like he's handling it, and that's what he does. And I think that's something that character needs.
Well, and I think here's my problem with Will Smith, and this is the only thing I can say is why I'm like not just 100% loving him behind it, is I feel like if this were Will Smith from the late 90s and early 2000s, I'd be like, hell yes, I'm down with that. I just feel like lately, of recent, in the last 5-8 years, Will Smith, his comedic chops have really become a lot more subtle and a lot more muted and a lot more sedated in a way. And I think it's also just aging and maturity. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I just feel like comedically where he was back then to where he is now is vastly different. And so I'm concerned that in my head, I'm expecting a much wilder, vibrant Will Smith of his younger years than the current Will Smith that we have right now. And that's not to be mean to Will Smith. I love Will Smith. That's kind of where my head is on that.
I think ultimately it'll just come down to the writing and however they decide to write the genie. If they try and do the genie in the same sort of sense of the way Robin Williams did, then it's not going to work, because why would you hire anyone like Will Smith to try and do that Robin Williams style cadence and sense of humor? You have to write it to Will Smith's strong suits, and maybe have the sense of who the genie is as a way of as an outlet for Will Smith and his humor, and have writers that can capture that in a way that makes it fun and funny. So I think if that's the direction they go to, then everything should work out just fine. But if they're trying to write the genie as he was from the animated film, then it's not going to really work, I don't think.
Right.
I can't imagine that's what they would do, though. I mean,
no.
I agree. You just got to make it, if it's going to be Will Smith, it's got to be Will Smith. Like, not Will Smith trying to be somebody else, other than obviously being the genie. But you know what I mean?
Right.
It'd be a whole new genie, not a Robin Williams genie.
Yeah.
And then what you had, what was that, Bobby? You going to say?
Well, I had also mentioned about the King Kong Skull Island thing, which I find interesting just because it seems like if you are doing that as a TV series, how do you do it in a way that you're not sort of hiding King Kong or any of the creatures throughout the series, where they only show up for like 30 seconds because it's too expensive to have that, and if you're not showing them and you're just showing the human characters, and I know that the whole thing is supposed to just sort of explore the origins of Skull Island, but it just does. I don't know how it'll work and translate into a TV series if it's not containing a lot more of what the show you would want to see, which would be King Kong. And even then, it's like, I don't know that I want to see a TV series with King Kong. Yeah, it's fine as a movie, and it lends itself more to a movie to me than it would as a TV series. So really not sure I'm on board with it as it stands, and as a concept. I would have to see what it looks like as a trailer and then maybe check out the pilot. But offhand, it just seems like I don't know why they're doing this.
I would agree. I mean, I've said before, I've never had like a big draw to King Kong anyway. So I don't know. It seems like there's been a lot of King Kong going on lately. It's like, obviously we just had Skull Island, and I don't know. I guess there hasn't been that much, but I don't know. It just feels like a big why this. Is anybody really interested in this, especially if there's not really going to be much King Kong in it at all? Like, I don't get it.
It reminds me of, I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but when I was a kid, there was a Godzilla cartoon, and it was like, most of it was the humans, and this is funny because it was a cartoon, so you'd think they could do whatever they wanted, but I just remember it was like you'd see humans for most of the episode, and then when they got into some trouble, they'd call Godzilla, and he'd come out of the water and he'd help them, and then he'd go back into the water. Like, you barely saw Godzilla in the cartoon, and
right.
That was like I said, it was an animated cartoon short, so you would think you could draw Godzilla into
right, obviously.
But now you're talking about a live action series with King Kong. It's like, is that going to be the case where you just kind of see him pop up for a second and then he's gone, or is he supposed to be essential?
They'll see footprints and stuff like that.
Yeah,
the ominous presence that's never actually on camera. It'd be like the show Lost, right?
Yeah, there you go. I guess if you made, there you go. Maybe if they made it something like Lost, maybe that would be a little bit more interesting and keep you. It's sort of sleight of hand and makes you look one direction while not being able to see much of King Kong. You're you're occupied by other things, mysteries of Skull Island, and then it kind of gives you something else to ponder while you're not seeing King Kong. Maybe if they went in that direction, I could maybe buy into it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I buy into it almost zero. Really, I have no interest in it whatsoever. I'd have to say, I don't get it. It definitely big question mark for me. I don't understand why the draw here.
No.
Yeah. Anyway. And then your number one was, I guess, just general Marvel news because of the tour, which they got a screening, like you said, of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. People saw concept art of what the costume's going to look like for Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
We got directors for that now, and then the James Gunn stuff that we heard about this week. So I mean, that's a whole show in and of itself, right?
Yeah, there was a ton of Marvel news this past week, and we just barely scratched the surface of it because there's a lot of if you look at different articles on the web, I think Coming Soon has a pretty good one where they detailed everything that they did from start to finish, and they talked about some of the scenes that they saw or that they were shown for Black Panther, and also talked about and they also talked about a lot of the different aspects of Thor Ragnarok that they haven't shown just yet. So they really got a really good sneak peek at what Marvel has in store for at least next year and slightly up until Avengers Infinity War. And I did find it interesting that was one thing that they didn't see anything of. So maybe they're trying to save some of that for Comic-Con or some sort of event, because they've been filming for a while now, and I'm sure they have stuff, but they didn't seem to show any of it at this press event. So maybe it's still something they're saving for the fans.
I guess the first thing I think of or think to comment on coming from all that, I mean, the James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, it was nice to see his post and how he kind of approached announcing that he's doing this by saying, look, I get that, there's can be a lot of issues with the third part of a trilogy. And, I think we've said this on here before when it comes to the same director directing the same films, from a franchise, and there start to be burnout. And that's one of the things I've been impressed by with Disney and Star Wars, is that they're not doing that. They're not getting J.J. Abrams to direct all three of these damn things, and we haven't even seen Volume 2 yet, but without having seen it, of course, part of me is like, oh, man, do we really want the same guy directing all these Guardians of the Galaxy movies?
Right.
Like, would it be kind of nice to see a fresh look on, what you could do with Guardians of the Galaxy from somebody else? But, hey, Guardians of the Galaxy was awesome. Hopefully Volume 2 is awesome. So how can you, I guess, compete with that? Argue with that, yeah. So.
It's not broke.
Yeah, if it's not broke.
Right.
I agree.
I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of well, first, to your point of what you're saying about Guardians, it is interesting because James Gunn seems like Guardians is his because he's so innately tied to it, and it does seem like no one else should direct it in a weird sort of way because he's so intricately tied to it. But I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of a director swap if I could. And I would say if I could see a Taika Waititi directed Guardians of the Galaxy and a Thor film directed by James Gunn, I think it'd be kind of interesting to see what each would do on those other properties.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's hard not to feel that way after watching that Thor Ragnarok trailer. I mean, it feels very Guardians of the Galaxy like. So.
Yeah, which is funny because I saw people posting comments about the Thor Ragnarok trailer, and they were saying, well, it sort of looks like Guardians. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's the same universe. So it actually is kind of cool that they make the universe look the same. Because if you look at the trailer, when you see the stuff that happens on Asgard, it looks like Asgard and looks like what we've seen before of Asgard. And then once it goes into space, it does look like the aesthetics and sort of look and feel of Guardians, which I thought was smart for them to match the tone, because why would it look different? That'd be like if you have a movie that takes place on Earth and it looks a certain sort of way, then why wouldn't the movie that's within that same universe look similar when it's on Earth? It just seems like it goes together, but people were making it seem like it was copying Guardians when I didn't get that from it. I thought, yeah, it's the same universe, so the universe is going to look similar, if not the same. But that was just my take on it.
And they've confirmed Star-Lord's going to be making an appearance in Thor Ragnarok. Have they not?
That's the first I've heard of it.
I haven't heard
No,
that.
I mean, I think it's the rumor, but I was asking if it's been confirmed. But it's a huge rumor that if anything, one, he'll just make an appearance, or two, it's going to be in one of the multitude of end credit scenes.
Yeah,
that's the rumors, right? That's the rumors that are happening. But I just didn't know if anything had been confirmed.
Not that I've heard, because that's the first I'd heard of it at all. So, yeah, I hadn't
really.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I don't think it's been officially confirmed. I imagine it probably wouldn't be until the movie came out. Something like that.
Right.
It'll be a secret.
Yeah, it'd be cool if. I mean, I have a strong feeling it's going to be an end credit thing, but it would be kind of cool if he did pop into the film. But I have a feeling there's going to be a good end credit scene for it.
Right. Yeah, I could see that.
As much as we know, or I should say, as little as we know about Thor Ragnarok, and only getting our first look at it just recently, I find it interesting that there's still so much that is going on in that movie that we've only sort of had the slightest bit of acknowledgement about, which is the fact that Doctor Strange is going to be in the movie. So it's there's still so much about that movie that's not being told to us just yet, but will be very interesting once we get a chance to sit down and watch it all.
No, yeah, totally. I look forward to it. It's for me, it's fun and exciting to see all these characters, and yeah, they're all within the Marvel universe, but I mean, to really see them outside of just their own context and really pull together and jump in on each other's different storylines. And there's been mixtures where it's like, I wouldn't think they would actually mix, but they do, and it makes sense in a way, because obviously Thor is completely in a different universe, and we all know Doctor Strange travels space, time, whatever. I mean, anything and everything. And it's neat and it's fun, and I like kind of seeing things team up like this, and it gets me really giddy and excited. I'm looking forward to this film. Like, I cannot wait to see Thor Ragnarok. And these are words I never thought I initially would say. If you talked to me like 3, 4, 5 years ago, I'd been like, the third Thor, you never know. But now I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see the third Thor movie. Like, Jesus, I'm so excited.
That all just really has me excited for Avengers of Infinity War, just because of a lot of what you said, Michelle, is that getting to see a lot of these characters interact, it's just going to be like really reading a comic book and seeing it on the big screen, because if what they say is true, and this is really sort of Thanos' story and from his point of view and him collecting the stones, then it'll be kind of like, wow, okay, we'll get a little bit of Guardians, we'll get a little bit of Avengers and some Spider-Man, and seeing some of those characters, how they'll intertwine and mix together. Like, only time I've ever seen Spider-Man and Doctor Strange interact is on cartoon form or in the comics. So, but yet they're kind of like somewhat buddies in the comics and stuff. So getting to see that played out in a movie form, it'll just make for some cool and interesting dynamics going on within the film. So I'm super, super hyped for Avengers Infinity War. And in fact, that's probably one of the things I'm hoping to see at Comic-Con this year, if they can show some stuff from that, because
they're going to have a trailer. You know they're going to have something. They've started shooting. You know they're going to have a teaser or trailer, something. It's going to be great.
Hope so. At least Marvel will be there. We know that now.
Right.
That would have been a bummer, but I easily could have seen it with D23 so soon.
Oh my God, yeah.
And they did say that since they're going to be at D23 and at Comic-Con, that Kevin Feige said that they will be two different presentations. It's not like they're just going to repeat the stuff they showed at D23 and show it at Comic-Con.
That's cool.
So now I'm like, dang, now I really do have to go to both.
Right.
You've been to D23 before?
I have, but when I went the year that they first had the Marvel stuff there, that room that they were having it in was sort of like another Hall H kind of deal where it was already, to capacity way before it even started to let the room in because people had been waiting early the prior day, not Comic-Con early, but like I think on that first occasion, people, like, let's say the panel started at 10 that on Saturday. I think people had gotten in line around 1 or 2 in the morning. So it's not like Comic-Con where you pretty much have to be in the line the day before and it's like in the afternoon still and you're just now getting in line.
Right.
It wasn't quite like that, but it was still pretty anticipated.
Sweet. All right. Well, that is about time to wrap things up. Thanks, Bobby, for the news. And make sure to check out our regular episode, episode 212. We'll be reviewing the film Free Fire. That'll be a spoiler review of that. As always, we'd like to hear back from you. You can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com with any questions or comments you may have. I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Yasha Wilson.
And I'm Michelle Curry.
Thanks for listening.